So as many of you know who follow my channel, I am a huge fan of red light therapy. I've been using it for several years, and I believe it's a big reason why my skin has been aging so well. So today I'm having my very first interview on my New Age Beauty channel, and I get to talk to the founder of my favorite red light therapy company, Bev May Sanderson. Bev is a science graduate and the founder of Maysama, a brand that specializes in red light therapy and supporting skincare. Her knowledge of phototherapy science is second to none, and her passion for red light therapy helps us age well and supports our overall health and well-being, which is just so inspirational. We are lucky that Bev is going to share her top 10 tips to help us get the very best out of our red light therapy devices. So now I'm excited to welcome Bev to New Age Beauty. Thanks so much for joining us today, Bev.
Thank you so much for having me, Linda. I'm excited to be here.
Well, before we dive into the top 10 tips that you're going to share with us, for anyone new to red light therapy, can you explain what it is, why people are using it, and what the main benefits are for our skin health and our general wellness?
Well, red light therapy is backed by decades of research, and it's proven to stimulate healing, to reduce inflammation. And I think, some people maybe struggle with the idea that light might have an impact on the body, but we really shouldn't, because we're all generally aware that UV light helps the body produce vitamin D. So it's not illogical really for light, other wavelengths of light, like red light and near infrared, to stimulate the body's healing process. So that's really what it does. So these specific wavelengths of light have an impact on or support mitochondrial function. The mitochondria are the batteries of our cells that produce cellular energy. So more cellular energy helps to stimulate cell regeneration and repair, which is why we love red light therapy for skin rejuvenation. And in terms of benefits, well, we're really looking at improvements in skin tone and skin texture. So the skin tone improvement comes from the fact that the skin cells are turning over more rapidly. So we see brightening of skin. And then the texture comes from the fact that the red light therapy helps us produce more collagen. So it strengthens and supports the skin. But then red light therapy goes far beyond just skin rejuvenation. We can use it for wound healing. So scar reduction, for example. We can use it for pain relief and muscle recovery. Brain health, gut health. There are so many applications, it's endless, which is why I love it so much.
It's just amazing that we can go through our lives and have no idea about this. And then when we learn about it, it's such an epiphany, and it literally puts us on a slightly different course for the better. So tell me, I understand that your tip number one is that we should really use it in the morning over the evening. So why is that?
Yeah, I mean, the science studies support that we'll get a benefit whether we use it morning or evening. But there is a study on mitochondrial health, and it does show that the mitochondria are more active in the morning. They actually produce up to 40% more ATP in the morning than they do in the evening. So it's really to do with what we call mitochondrial load. There's more capacity for the batteries of our cells to produce this cellular energy. So if we do our red light therapy in the morning, it potentially can work better. And there is some evidence that supports this, because there was a study on eye health by UCL, so that's University College London, and they used red and near infrared light in the morning, which using that 3 times a week showed some improvement to vision. And yet when they used the same treatment and did it in the afternoon, there was no improvement. So that kind of backs up that, mitochondrial health, if it has this greater capacity in the morning to be triggered, that's probably the best time to do it.
That's just amazing. So I have been doing mine 3 to 4 times a week in the morning for a couple of years now. And actually I've been using your mask for a couple of years. And prior to that, I had used a different one, but in the morning. But I have been doing it. I had no idea. I just got lucky, apparently. It's about time efficiency. I don't want things to take up extra time out of my life. And so I just put it on in the morning, and I scroll through my computer. I get caught up on the news and, can work while I'm doing it. So anyway, I got lucky, imagine. So more.
I mean, it's not to say, as we said, that it won't work in the evening, because there are plenty of science studies that use red light therapy at all different times of day. but there's never been one that's actually compared the morning and the afternoon. So this additional information, I think, is just helpful.
Hmm. Well, anecdotal information, even though it may not be backed by science, it's pretty powerful if people are telling you, what's working or results are showing you what's working.
Absolutely.
So your tip number 2 was to be consistent. And isn't that true about everything in life that matters? So how often should we be using our devices and when can we expect to see results?
That's a really good question. So we typically advise 3 to 5 times a week, which fits with most of the studies on red light therapy out there. So in terms of what you can
How
expect,
I've been using it, by the way. I use it consistently 3 times a week.
and me
So
too. I tend to sort of be every other day. So it may be 4 times a week or it may be 3, but yeah, every other day, I just get myself into that routine. If you're new to red light therapy in terms of managing expectations and what can you see when, pretty early on, and we're talking about 4 to 6 weeks in, you would see brighter skin, more radiant skin. The reason being that we've started that renewal of the skin, so that the skin is turning over effectively. So that helps to reduce pigmentation and reduce erythema, but just generally give you more radiant skin. A little bit further in, so we're talking maybe 3 months, that's when we really see the impact of more collagen production. So that will help with skin texture. We see just slightly lifting in the skin, a more structured, better texture of our skin with the laying down of new collagen that gives the structure to the face.
I am a huge believer that it does that. I have seen my own skin firm up just a little. I mean, it's all of these different protocols that we do as part of our aging journey. They all make a little bit of difference, but then collectively, they can make a huge difference. If you pick
Absolutely, they can. And you can see many of the before and afters on Maysama's website. So it's real results from real customers. Do check in and have a look at the gallery. It's fascinating.
No, I was very struck, very impressed by those, and I'm going to be sharing those with the
Brilliant.
audience on this video. So tip number 3, I understand, is about combining red and near infrared light. And I understand that wavelengths are key to this. So could you explain what is the best and should this vary depending on what our concerns are?
Yes, I mean, I would generally recommend, if we're looking at it from an anti-aging perspective, I would say combining red and the infrared is best. The reason being that they have distinct but complementary action. So red light helps the cells to regenerate, so what we call cell proliferation, whereas the near-infrared light helps with the maturation of the cells that produce collagen, so fibroblasts. It helps those to mature and produce and secrete that collagen. So it's complementary action. Sometimes we have to use specific protocols, and I know we're going to come on to that. So you'd still get a benefit if you use just one or the other. But as a general rule, red and infrared combined is the best. I also think it's just worth knowing that near infrared penetrates more deeply than red. So red is a shorter wavelength that targets the epidermis, so the surface tissue. So that will penetrate about 3 millimeters into the skin, whereas the near infrared goes much deeper, several centimeters into the skin. So when we're looking at deep tissue treatments, if we are looking to treat the gut or muscle recovery, then really we should be using or focusing on that near infrared. The skin, we want an element of near infrared, but the red is very important.
So it's so interesting because the near infrared is the one we don't really see, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's invisible to the
That
naked eye.
penetrates the deepest. And so we're just, just the logic of that is kind of, it doesn't necessarily compute because we're not seeing it. And that's really fascinating. So should we customize our protocols? And if so, what are the variables for doing that?
I think, when we're looking at particular skin issues, I mean, for example, if we're looking at acne, then you want to bring blue light in because blue light is antibacterial. So generally for acne, we combine red and blue light because the red is anti-inflammatory and then the blue is antibacterial. Another situation when you might use a more bespoke protocol is looking at pigmentation, because I think in particular with pigmentation, skin tone is really important. And depending on where you sit on that Fitzpatrick scale, you may respond differently. So for example, if you have fair skin and you're treating pigmentation, that pigmentation will only sit in the epidermis, not in the deeper layers. And potentially the near infrared might even trigger that pigmentation for you. So if you have fair skin, you're probably better. If you're trying to treat pigmentation or avoid triggering melasma, just use red light. Now, if you're a lady with skin of color, it's actually the opposite that applies, because with skin of color, we've got a really high concentration of eumelanin in the epidermis. And if we use red light, it actually delivers too much energy that ironically can trigger melasma or hyperpigmentation. So we're better to use a near infrared that bypasses the melanin-rich surface and targets the deeper layers, because the melasma goes right into the dermis. It's not just surface. And then we treat it from the inside out. It's a different approach. So we like to try and help educate our community and give them bespoke protocols. It's not a one size fits all.
So I am very fair, obviously. And I've never had a real serious issue with melasma, but I have noticed that my skin pigment has actually gotten better since I've been using my mats. So for
Which is perfect. So for the majority, and I can't really put a percentage on it, but for the majority, the combination of red and near infrared works well. It's only if you are particularly prone to melasma and it's stubborn and it's an issue for you that we might need to customize those protocols.
Yeah, so I think one more point, anecdotal point, is that when I was going through menopause, I was getting, and when I was pregnant, I did have some episodes with melasma. Those were the only
Interesting.
that I did.
Yeah.
But I'm long past all of that, so I don't have issues anymore. There are some good things to getting older.
There certainly are.
So question, can you overdo the use of red light? And, if so, how much is too much?
I mean, potentially, yes, but not in any toxic way. It's not phototoxic, but there are potentially diminishing returns in an extended session. So, if you take your red light mask, then we normally set a treatment time. That might be 6 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on the particular mask that you're using. And there's a Goldilocks zone for treatment. You want to stay within that window. You don't want too much that isn't enough to trigger biostimulation. But if you have too much, if you go over a certain threshold, then what happens is you get a buildup of free radicals when you continue to use red light therapy in one session. And when those get to a certain level, they actually start to inhibit the very processes that we are using the red light therapy for in the first place. So it starts to inhibit cell regeneration, and it starts to inhibit ATP production, cellular energy production. So you want to keep within that Goldilocks zone. You want to stay within that treatment window that is recommended by the manufacturer of your red light device.
Well, that's really great to know, because what you were recommending with yours, I do the 6-minute protocol. And, if I had to do something for a half an hour or 45 minutes, it's just not going to make the cut for me. So that's wonderful.
And there's no reason to do it.
Yeah. Awesome. So you talk about pulse light, and I know your device has pulse light. So how is that different from what I understand the other is called continuous waves? So why is it beneficial, and how should that be used?
Well, pulse light, I mean, really, it's because cells need periods of rest to reset and be further stimulated. I think the best way to think of it is it's a little bit like interval training for cells. They can perform better for longer when you pulse the light on and off. So they have that ability to be reset and then further stimulated. But we first learned about it from a scientist, Andre Sommer, who uses it as a drug delivery system. And one of the drugs that he uses for chemotherapy is green tea, or EGCG from green tea. And he explained to me that when you shine the red light on the cells, it makes the cells expand because the fluid inside the cell expands. And then when you turn the light off, the cell contracts. So you end up with this pulsing of the cell, like a breathing effect. And that actually sucks in any micronutrients that surround the cell. So you get the benefit of improved uptake of skincare ingredients. So it makes your skincare work more effectively. But that also has a knock-on effect, because if the cells have all the micronutrients that they need to reproduce, you get faster cell turnover, which is why we see quicker brightening of skin and all these benefits that we want from red light therapy. There's so much beside it. But at the start of a 10, hopefully that gives you an idea why I love pulse light.
Well, I think it's important for the audience to understand that your Prana mask, you can switch on red light only, near infrared, and pulsed. So you get to decide what's going to work best for you.
Absolutely.
And they work, separately and together. So
Yes.
I thought that was brilliant the way you designed that. So
Thank you.
speaking of green light, I mean green light of green tea. That's
Yes.
into my next question for you, which was your seventh tip, and that is to prep your skin with skincare that works to your advantage when it comes to red light. So tell me
Yes.
more about that.
Yes. Well, it's proven, it's scientific fact that hydrated skin absorbs light better. So that's a really important point. If we hydrate our skin, which we can use any hydrating skincare for that, then we're going to get better absorption of light. Aside from that, there are some actives that are particularly beneficial for use with red light, like antioxidants, for example. And as you probably know, Linda, we have our own antioxidant serum, the green rooibos serum, which is actually the only serum that is clinically tested and proven to work with red light. So it actually carries that claim saying improves outcomes for LED. And it's not just about the antioxidant potential of green rooibos. The green rooibos actually stimulates the mitochondria to produce more ATP, and it drives glycolysis, which gives us all the building blocks that we need for cell regeneration. So it works in many different ways. And perhaps I can share with you the results and we can pop those up on the screen. But the data proves that when we use the serum in advance of red light therapy, so apply it to your face and then do your red light session, it more than doubles your outcomes for red light therapy in terms of reducing wrinkles, reducing pigmentation.
Well, that's just amazing. And the fact that your device has not only the pulse light to its advantage, but also has this serum, which is magnificent. And, so that's, why I love Maysama.
Thank you. It's synergistic action with the red light therapy. So we absolutely encourage it.
So tip number 8 is to use red light before doing resistance exercise. Now, this one is near to my heart because on my channel, I am a big advocate of, building your strength through weightlifting and TRX or however you want to do it, but to get more strong and more powerful, that really is the only fountain of youth. Even though we talk about, all of these other wonderful things to help us look better and to feel better, you've got to be strong. And so the fact that you say that red light helps with that, I'm just dying to hear your response to that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it started with skin, but now I've become so interested in the use of red light therapy for more holistic healing. And one of my issues is rosacea. So I was interested in treating the gut, and in developing a device to treat the gut. It's also a multitasking device that can be used across the body to treat, to help with pain relief, but also with muscle recovery. So this is our LED silicone belt. And there was evidence that showed that red light therapy really helps to help with recovery of muscles after resistant exercise. But I think what's come to the surface more recently is the fact that we probably should be using it before exercise. So it improves blood circulation, it reduces oxidative stress, but it also has this protective effect that really it boosts muscle performance, but also helps protect against muscle injury. And then we get better recovery of muscles and less soreness afterwards. So it's really multitasking when it comes to using red light with resistance exercise.
So for that, it sounds like having a panel would probably be the best approach.
Well, that's a really interesting point. So perhaps if you'd asked me a year ago, I might well have said yes to that. Because we do have a panel that we use for targeted treatments. But panels are what we call non-contact LED. So they sit a little bit away from the body, whereas the LED belt is contact LED. And if you speak to any clinician using photobiomodulation or red light therapy, as we call it, they will recommend that contact LED is better. So when you have the LED sitting on the skin, you're going to get far less light scattering and less light reflection, which means that you get better absorption of that light in the target tissue. So something like a silicone belt with LED is going to give you a better result than using a panel at a distance.
And then you would use that belt if you have back issues, you'd use it on your back prior to working out, for example, or shoulder or
Absolutely. Yes. I
what?
mean, you can use either or, but I think there certainly are more benefits going to the surface to encourage people to use it before exercise, get all the benefits that you would have if you used it after exercise. But in addition, you're boosting your muscle performance, which is even better.
Wow, and doing it before it even helps with recovery, you say. Again, that
Yes,
sometimes
it helps protect against muscle injury. Yes.
okay, great. Well, I have lent my belt to my husband because he's been sick, but I think we're going to have to figure out how to ship that.
Are you vying for another one?
How would you do? So the number 9 tip that you mentioned to me is about targeting the gut. So let's talk about that because they're finding out more and more and more about gut health and the microbiome. And, so now you're talking about red light therapy being beneficial to that. So very exciting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, my life started as a microbiologist, so I'm particularly interested in things like the gut microbiome. And, within the gut, we have metabolites that help maintain the health of the gut. But if we get gut dysbiosis, if we get an imbalance in the gut, then everything kind of breaks down and it can impact so many things. You've probably heard of the gut-brain axis and how anything that's going on in the gut can impact skin or brain or many other functions. So for myself with rosacea, then I know it's not just a skin condition, it's a systemic inflammatory condition. So by me treating the gut, I'm potentially helping my skin. But also there's evidence around treating the gut can have an impact on Parkinson's disease and actually reduce the symptoms of Parkinson. I find that fascinating.
Well, you hear about something as dramatic as that, and you just wonder, it seems like we're just starting to learn its capabilities and that there's going to
We
be
really are. And with the red and the infrared light, what it does, and this is again proven through science, is that it increases the number of beneficial bacteria in the gut, and it increases the diversity of the bacteria that we have in the gut. And those two things clearly are associated with a healthy gut.
Mhm. And what settings would you use for that?
Well, with the belt, clearly the near infrared is very important. So within the belt, we use 2 different near infrared wavelengths. We have 850 and we have 810. 810 is emerging as a really effective wavelength for deep tissue penetration.
Right.
We also have red because we have people using the belt for multiple applications. They may be using it for wound healing. We have ladies using it for tummy tucks, for cesarean scars. The list goes on with
Wow.
great results.
Just amazing. Well, I'm so glad that I discovered it when I did. But it just seems like there's going to be more and more innovation coming
They're
out.
really good.
Really is exciting. So tell me, why is it important that we get started today? I've already gotten started, but I have learned from you that I need to be using the belt more for my microbiome. So tell us, why should we start now if we haven't already?
There is no time like the present. And personally, I just think something as holistic as red light therapy, it can impact so many areas of the body. It's non-invasive. It's proven to work. And for one modality that does so much, why would you not invest in that one modality that does so much?
And, when you look at the cost of it, I mean, it's spread out. They last for years. So the
They
cost
really do.
minor, once you make the initial investment. I just want to thank you so much. I can't believe I got to meet you finally after all of this following you,
Likewise.
knowing about your journey and how here we are face to face. This is
It's amazing. It's lovely to meet you too, Linda.
so thank you so much, Bev, for sharing your invaluable insights today. I learned all kinds of new things. I'm guessing my community are going to have a lot of questions, so just leave them in the comment section below, and Bev has promised to respond to each one of them. And I'm also going to link all the Maysama devices in the description box below. And I also have a 10% off code that Bev has generously given us under the code name of Linda LED, LYNDA LED. So thanks for joining me today as we learned more about the benefits of using red light therapy. not just for beauty, but also for health and wellness. So here are some additional videos that have other tips and tricks for how to age beautifully. So I want to thank you for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again and to sharing the beauty in all of us. Have a beautiful day.